This is the Salario platform. Like I mentioned, payroll is very important. And what we do at Salario is ensure that businesses do not have to stress in ensuring that their employees are paid at the right time. And this is very important, not just timing for payments, but also ensuring that you are compliant with the law so that in your bid to employ people, you do not get into trouble with the law. Now, with that said, we have a very intuitive platform. I believe if I hand over this platform to any of our guests, at least they'll be able to find their way around easily. But we also deem it fit to run sessions like this to ensure that everyone that comes on the platform has a resource that would guide their navigation of the platform. And like we mentioned, we'll be handling a very important aspect of payroll, which is payroll itself. So I believe everybody can see my screen. On the left hand of the screen is the tab that has all the essential features. And since we are dealing with payroll today, click on payroll. Here we have 5 sub-headers. We have payments, we have tax, we have pensions, statutory policies, and schedules. And we will be going through each one after the other. So we'll start with the most important one, payments. So once you click the payment tab, it takes you to, you come to a screen that shows you a lot of information, and we'll be breaking all the information down. So start with wallet balance. Wallet balance is essentially how much you have to make payments of salaries to cover costs and any other important financial decisions. When you register with Salario, you automatically get, you can easily create a wallet with us. That is where you'll be able to disburse your money from. Here, the next tab here is active employees. Basically, the self-explanatory, all the employees that are active within your company at a given time. Then annual gross pay basically calculates all the pay for a time period, basically what you paid out while using the platform. Then monthly gross pay breaks it down to pay per month, and then there's monthly net pay. Monthly net pay is simply what you pay your employees after you have deducted your tax, remittances, pensions, and any other outstandings that your employees have. Up until this point, I don't believe there are any questions, and if there are, please drop it in the chat box. I will do it to attend to them when I am done with the presentation. So from here, you can also view all the previous transactions or what previous salaries you have paid out. And this is obviously a presentation account where we show you how it is done, but it's also a perfect reflection of what you will meet on your admin end of the portal. So the next step you take is to attempt to create payments, and that will bring up a pop-up. And here it's quite simple. You input the start date. So the way it works, there is a pay period. It can vary from company to company. We can work with a 31-day period, which is the pay period for a month. Some people pay their salaries earlier, so their pay period will end before the end of the month. Some pay later, and that is purely dependent on how you run payroll timing in your company. But for the sake of this deep dive, we'll be going with the month of July and a 31-day pay period. So the start date will be the 1st of the month, and then the end date will be the 31st of the month. And today being 31st makes it quite apt. Then you have to select a wallet you use for payment. Once you select the wallet, as you can see, we have 46 naira 66 kobo on this wallet. Now, if that is not enough to pay your salaries, the next thing you just need to do is fund wallet. So you can fund wallet from here. You get the account details you need to fund your wallet to make transactions, and you come back here once you're done and you refresh. If you've made any payment, it would reflect in your new wallet balance. Simple as that. But there are other ways to fund your wallet on the app. But because we are dealing with payments, we're showing the fastest and easiest way to do it via your payment tab. Now you also come to the payment type and click on net salary. You can, if you are a company that has a 30-month payment schedule, you have that too. And for allowance, reimbursement, and allowance type, those are also available. But for the purpose of this dive, we will just be going with the net salary. Now, this is all you need to start your payroll process. You can click continue and you are well on your way to making your payments. But there are some, I think we can see this green, show more advanced payment settings. There are some settings you can also input depending on your company type and the needs of your business. So we'll look at some of them. So automatically this will show up as monthly because you put net salary. But if you do a bi-weekly payment schedule, a weekly payment schedule, a daily, hourly, or none, if it's a one-time payment, you can also select that here. Then we have two tabs here. We have the partner and the pay group. Now, they function similarly, but the major difference here is for partners. Partners are for companies with subsidiaries or businesses with subsidiaries. So if you have a business and you have your head office in a state, but you also control the payment of salaries across your other locations. Maybe you have your head company in Lagos and you have a branch in Ibadan, you have a branch in Enugu, you have a branch in Ife or Ilorin, like that, you can easily create partners for each of those locations. So you can click on a partner or as many partners as possible, and those partners will be the only ones to get paid. Do you understand? Those partners will be the only one to get paid. But if you don't select partners, every employee registered will get paid. Now, for pay group is more of within a single location. So as partners relate to a broader situation, the pay group is like more departmental. For example, if you have interns in your company and you have a different payment arrangement for your interns, your graduate interns, your student workers, or your managerial staff have different pay structures or different arrangements, you can always create those groups here and select them or select whichever group you intend to pay at that moment. That is the functions of these two tabs over here. Then you can also remit pension directly from your payment tab or remit your tax directly from your payment tab. Although we'll be visiting those tabs separately to explore how they work individually, but this is the additional settings to show that you can do all of that right at the payment section. So once you've selected the necessary details or the compulsory details, you click on continue. And then the summary pops up. The summary is where you have control over the payment process. Now, in the summary, you have your payable amounts, which indicates the amount that is going to be paid out. So if you have, in this case, we have 74 employees, and this payable amount, so we have 74 payable employees, and this payable amount reflects the money that can be paid to those 74 people. On payable amount, and I hope you are following on my screen, on payable amount refers to the amounts that cannot be paid out for one reason or the other. When we come to unpayable employees tab, we would explain that better. Then there's the accrued amount. We'll also explain that subsequently. Then there's the total net pay and total repayment available. And yeah, those are the major things you need to concern yourself with. There's also a total fee tab, but it's not of importance when it comes to paying out salaries at the moment. Then there's the schedule payment option. So if you are buoyant enough to pay salaries for an entire year at once, You can easily schedule payments here. You click on tab, click on frequency, let's assume monthly, and then click on other details down to the time you want the payments to be made. It's as easy as A, B, and C. Now, when we come down here, we see the payable employees. This shows all of your employees that can be paid. They filled in all their details. You see the employee, you see their emails, their institutions, basically the bank they want to be paid in. We also provide that for employees that are onboarded on Salario, but you can use an external bank too. Then there's beneficiary accounts, beneficiary name. We have your net pay, we have your repayment, and then amount payable. So these three tabs are of importance. Your net pay is the net pay that you'll be paying out to your employees after you've removed your remittance, tax, and pension, and any other statutory obligations. Your repayment is what the employee has to pay back depending on your arrangement with the employee. So we have an end wages module. Our end wages module helps an employee to collect a certain amount of payment relative to the amount of days they've worked within the month. So if, for simplification purpose, if you are paying your employee 500,000 naira, and by the middle of the month, they need funds, with our end wages access feature module, they can easily request for half, in a 30-day month, half of that payment. And that will come under repayment, the repayment tab here, and also reflect in the total repayment available. So what that means, or to put it very simply, they've collected money in lieu of their salary, and they have to pay it back when the salary is paid at the end of the month, or it is already deducted when salary is paid at the end of the month. But since we don't have that in our session here, it won't be reflected here, but it is very, very active. Then we come to the unpayable employees. Now, unpayable employees are employees that, for one reason or the other, cannot be paid. Simple as that. But you can always check what error is preventing your employees from being paid. Now, in this case, we have about 5 unpayable employees, and obviously, the reason they're not being paid here is because their details are not complete. That's their institution, the beneficiary accounts, the beneficiary names are not complete. And you can also view that error here. Does not have a default payment method configured. Now, depending, you can choose to edit that in another module. It's not the main point of discussion here, but as an admin that has control over the payment settings, you can always add their institution, beneficiaries, beneficiary name and beneficiary account if they have it with you already. When they've not provided it, they would always fall under unpayable employees. Now, for accrued employees, which is related to this accrued amount over here, an accrued employee, basically an employee whose salary is being accrued towards a particular pay period. Now, what do I mean? Let's go back to the payable employees tab. On the payable employees tab, we want to ensure or want to assume that 3 employees have decided to defer their salary payments. Maybe they are well-to-do for that month and just want to keep it ahead, or you have an arrangement with your employee that his payments will come in after 2 or 3 months. You come here, or maybe it's a punishment for an employee, which we do not advise, but you come here, you click on the employees you want to accrue their payments. I've clicked on 4 employees. You come to the Mark as Accrued tab, click on that, and they would fall under the Accrued Employees tab. It's as simple as that. And what that does is that it reduces your total payable amount, as you can see here, and increases the accrued amount. So your total net pay for that month would be minus your payable amount, unpayable amount, and accrued amount. Basically, those that fall under unpayable employees and accrued employees do not get paid for the month that is specified, although they fall under different buckets. Now, if you are satisfied with all of these settings, you can also decide to search for an employee. Maybe there's an arrangement to default a particular employee and it's not accurate. You can search for an employee, or the employee has left the company, but you have not completed the offboarding process. You can search for the employee's name and then click for him not to get paid. You can filter by departments, depending on the number of departments that you have. If you are paying department by department, you can filter by their positions. If you are paying team by team, or the positions they occupy in the company, or by their pay level. These are all settings you will do on the employee tab. But once you are done with all these settings, you go to create payment. So you can see payment is ready. Go to the actions menu and click payment approval to start the payouts process. Now, once we click create payment, the payment session that you are instituting automatically comes here, becomes the top or the most recent session here. As you can see, created in 31st of July, 4:24 p.m. And I assume that is the time on your end too. The major tabs here are action, total amount, payable amount, total repayment, total fee, employees, start and end period, and status. Then date created. I think the more important tabs are the ones I'll be attending to. First is the action tab. The action tab determines what actions you need to take. But if anything catches your eye, is the fact that the status of your payment after you create payment is in draft. This is done deliberately. It's not an error. It's not a mistake. We put it in draft so that before you finally make payment, you can go over all the details that you have imputed. So you come to your actions tab and you'll see payment details, payment approval, mark as paid, update or delete. Now, payment details is basically going to take you back to the payment details tab, where you have all the payment details that we have shown earlier. You see your employee code, your net pay, fee, beneficiary account, beneficiary name, institution, status, and date. You can also download the reports here before you make payments if need be. You also see your payable employees, unpayable employees, and accrued employees. Then, if you are satisfied with your details, you go back. Another action you can take is payment approval. But before we go to payment approval, we'll quickly run to the update section. So if you are unsatisfied with the details there, you can come to the update section. It takes you back to your original tab. If you want to change the date of payment, maybe there's been a mistake somewhere, you can do that here. Then come to whatever changes you need to make. Maybe you funded a different wallet and you have more than one wallet that you use for payments. You select that, then you click continue. It will take us back to the summary tab. In the summary tab, we've seen that already. But let's assume the change you want to make is to move another employee or move a couple of employees to accrued. You can then select maybe all the employees you want to move to accrued. Oh, sorry. You can select the employees you want to move to accrued. Maybe that's the arrangement or the difference you want to make. You notice something, then you update payments. Once you update payments, you notice that the employees we selected are the employees that are now going to get paid, just 6, rather than the 70 number we initially wanted. But you can always reverse that by going back to actions, going to updates, and continue. And just updating it. So you decide to update the figures and it changes in real time. You get back your 74 employees. That's how you change before you make your final payout. Now, if you want to make your final payout, you come to the actions tab, you come to payment approval. And here you'll see the summary of your entire payroll process for that pay period. You'll see the approvers. There's an approvers workflow that will be dealt with in another session of Salario Pulse. But what approvals basically refers to are the decision-making partners of the company that can make decisions as to what payments can be made, what salaries can be made. In this case, we have one. You can have more than one, and everybody has to approve before payment. You can choose to approve or reject. Let's choose approve, and then you can decide to add the comment. It's optional, but payment July or July. And then click continue. You input your password. Every approval would have their PIN, and click submit. So yes, like I mentioned at the very beginning, you have 46 naira. But if you have sufficient amount in your wallet, this error will not pop up. Your payments would go through smoothly. So this brings us to the last two tabs under action. There's mark as paid and there's delete. Now, delete is self-explanatory. It means that you are not using that particular payment option or that particular payment process. But the mark as paid section basically means that you can mark the salaries as paid without necessarily disbursing from your wallet. Now, what does that mean and how does that play out? There are certain businesses that already have a system for paying their salaries, but want a system to document the salary payment. And this is exactly what this feature helps. So in case you want to document payment, you want to also have proof of payment, your pay slip, both for you and your employees. This is what you use. So let's assume that's what we want to do and click yes. Once we click that, you can see here that it's no longer a draft, it falls under completed. So in less than 20 because this session has been running for about 30 minutes, in less than 20 or 30 minutes, and it's because I'm actually explaining, you could have paid out salaries to 74 employees. That's how much this simplifies your process. Rather than transferring to 74 employees one after the other, this just takes away that stress. And that is all the major things on the payment app. Once you've paid, you can download your entire report for a time period. You can use the filter button to filter the records you want to also download. Now, moving to the tax module under payroll. So in the tax module, we also help employees to pay and basically remit their tax. And the interface is as simple as the first interface. And we'll just go through them or go through the different tabs quickly. There's the account balance, the total number of active employees, your annual tax, and then your monthly tax. That's the only difference, your annual tax and then your monthly tax. You click on remit tax, You have something similar to the pop-up when you click on payment or pay salaries. But the difference here is your pay period is not within days, it's monthly, because the tax system in Nigeria uses months to specify payments. There are days within the month, but it is paid per month. Meanwhile, salary payments could differ depending on the system your business runs, hence the difference. So pay period, let's assume we're doing for July. Don't forget to select your wallet that has enough money, and then you click on show more, just like the previous tab, shows other settings, basically your partners and your pay group. So if you want to pay salaries or if you want to remit tax for certain partners, or that's other branches, you can do that from this section. But if you want to do that for maybe teams and departments or pay scales within the company, you can do that here. So once you are satisfied with your settings here, you click on continue and you get a summary tab, just like the payment feature. So here you have, in this case, we have one payable employee for their tax and 78 unpayable employees for their tax, and the total amount of tax to be paid. Like the salary payment feature, you can schedule your tax so that you don't break the law. It's advisable to schedule your tax. Look at the payable employees. Here we have a different set of details. Since you're not paying tax to a bank account, you're paying tax to the government. There are the settings here are a bit different. So there's an employee, you're using Victor Abimbola, there's a total amount, 5,000. Tax state, Lagos State. Your team, the team of the employee, the tax type that you are paying, and the position of the employee, then department. Now, all of these can be altered in the tax settings. So in the tax settings, you can update the details of the employee tax. So for example, this person is in Adamawa. If it's a different place, you can update all of that right here. There's a module for that under the employees tab, but we've made it easy for you to do that right under your tax remittance settings. So once you are satisfied with what you have here, you click on remit tax. Tax schedule is ready. Go to the actions menu, click tax approval to start the remittance process. So here you see it falls under draft 2. You can come to actions, update, tax approval, and tax detail. Now, in this case, there is no check mark because we do help you pay your tax. It's as simple as that. And we do not encourage you running from paying tax. But this is why there is no just mark as completed here. So there's a tax detail if you want to check the details of the employee and all the days needed in paying their tax. You can download the report here too. You can go back. And check actions and tax approval. Basically the same module as the last. To get all the summary, the approvals, and if there's an approval workflow, it would reflect here. You approve, you add comments, and continue. But if you are not, because you might not be willing to approve the decision, maybe there are two approvers in this case, and one approver wants to approve, the other wants to reject, you can use the reject button. Then update does the same function as the other updates. You are allowed to make changes to your current setting. Okay. Maybe it's the wallet the amount of money in the wallet too. But basically, it works exactly as on the payments tab. Once you click continue, you are allowed to update your tax payment. And you can download reports. You can alter your tax settings here. And you can filter your records too using this tab. So it's practically the same, just some minor differences. Then you come to the pensions tab. Pensions tab shares similarities with the previous two modules, but there are some slight differences. So you get your net balance, you get your active employees. So you get your account balance, your active employees, your annual pension, your monthly pension, and then you can decide to remit pension. Let's walk through that. Remit pension is quite similar to the tax. You select the wallet, same thing, you use months rather than the day period. Select July. The show more button is also quite similar. Partner and pay group. You click continue. The summary pops up. Now, the summary here, you have one payable employee, 78 unpayable employees, and then the total amount being paid for pension, being remitted for pension. As you can see here, there's no accrued tab here. So you look at your payable employees, employee total contribution, that's the total amount of pensions that will be remitted. Under Nigerian law, there is a split between the employers and the employee, and you automatically calculate that split and impute that detail for you. So you have your employee contribution, and this also follows with whatever pension settings you have made on your employee tab. Employee contribution, employer contribution, PFA name, that's basically the the pension body that is receiving payment, or the pension account you are paying into, PFA PIN, and the department. If you are good to go, there's also the schedule pension option. If you are good to go, you click on remit pension. And just like the other two, so that you'll be double sure, you're allowed the status of draft. You come to your actions, you come to your pension detail to go over the details once more. Actions, pension approval, if the pension is good to go. So you can approve, reject. It's quite similar, quite straightforward. Come to the comment section. If you have any comments, click on continue if you are good to go ahead. And you can also update or try and update. You get pension summary, and if there are any changes you want to make before the final payout of pensions, you make them there. So essentially, that is a deep walkthrough of pension process. So this is a download report if you want a PDF report for all your pension payments. Maybe the law, or maybe authorities are asking for evidence that you've been paying pensions. Your download report is there for you. So we'll quickly move to statutory policies. And these are basically the policies guiding some statutory deductions in Nigeria. We have the more updated Nigerian Pay 2026, and when there are other policies, we would definitely update them here. So here, this is the income band and how payments are supposed to be made, the basic allowances, the variables, and all the benefits, deductions, and all of the above. It's basically a setting that also guides how payments are made, and is also informational for HRs and finance leads within the team to refer back to. Then the schedule session. So like we mentioned earlier, you can schedule at the point of making payments for tax, pensions, pay and normal payments, but you can also do that on its own. You can schedule payments from the ground up. So let's walk through how that flow looks like. So you come to add schedule, and then you fill in all these details. You select the account, you select the action, payment, you select the payment type, net salary, select pay basis. Do you want it monthly, bi-weekly, weekly? The frequency. Do you want it to go out every month? Do you want it to schedule just once or weekly? Select. You select the day of the month you want your salaries to enter. Let's assume it's 28. Then you can also select the time. Once you select all this, let's assume you want it to come as a surprise in the night. And you 15, click OK. So on the 28th of the month at 10:15, your employees will get paid. All the other tabs here are optional. If there are pay levels, intern apprentice, the departments that is being paid or scheduled, position, if it's a subsidiary or a pay group, then you can also select if it's specific employees you want to schedule their payment. But the tabs with the red star beside it are the essential tabs you need to fill to be able to schedule your payment. You click on submit. Once you click submit, it is active. You can come to the actions tab. You can update it. And the difference here, because normally when we, like in the previous tab, that's the payment tab, the pension tab, and the tax tab, you see that we have drafts, but here we have active, primarily because we expect that you are not scheduling the payment for that day. You are scheduling the payment ahead of time. Now, what that would mean is that you will still have the options to update. You can still make changes here if you want to. You can delete it if you think you don't want to trigger this schedule. You can change the status active, that's it's ongoing. You can pause in case you want to resume another time, or you can terminate it. Basically, almost the same function as deleting the schedule process. And you can also view your schedule details here. So all in all, that is a walkthrough of our payroll function. So here we've seen how easy it is. In the space of 20 to 30 minutes, you can pay out all your employees at the end of the month without any headache. Now, there were a couple of things I mentioned that I would also like to show for the benefit of HRs and other business owners in our midst. Since this is the super admin, or this is the admin, you can come to your employees tab where you can create pay groups and partners, and like I mentioned, we'll have a Salario Pulse session where we will deal with all of these more extensively. You cannot compress the whole functions of what we are doing in just one single. We will not leave here. But one important module or feature I would like us to also see is the payslip feature. Now, many businesses have this problem. An employee needs to apply for something, or the employer actually needs to apply for a grant or something, and they need evidence that you have been paying. And unfortunately, your bank is refusing to give you, give you the bank statement, or something happens in the middle of the entire process. Our payslip feature makes this quite easy. So this is the admin session, but we also provide an account for all your employees once they sign up on our platform. Once you have onboarded them on our platform, on their own end, they can also check for their pay slip once they log into their account. But on your end, this is how you check for your payslip. You can, once you click on the payslip tab, you are brought to this table. You can look at the payslip of a particular employee. So let's assume you want to look at Amibola Victor, whose annual gross is 118 million and his monthly net pay is 15 million. You come to action and click view. And so you see the payslip for the 31st of July. The basic and how everything is computed. So if you want to send this out to somebody, you click on the download button. And it's downloaded. You can then open. Oh, okay. It's not going to reflect on my screen, but you can open the downloaded document. Let me share this tab instead. So this is the downloaded document for Abimbola Victor. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our action part session. We've looked at different functions and how we made payment of salaries easier for companies and businesses alike. If there are any questions, we would like them to, like I mentioned, be indicated in the chat box.